Morning Mob with Cub, Carson, and Floyd.
On the line, we've got Josh White. He's the ops manager for Halifax Pop Explosion, a good buddy organization of ours, helping us put on M-Fest. And now they're going to shed some insight into what the connection is between Sonic Youth and Halifax. Hey, Josh, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, morning, Floyd. Morning, Cub. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Now, how did this come about? Because we've all known the fact that Halifax for many years, people thought that it was going to be the next Seattle, and many influential artists have come through, this city, not just in the past year, but over the last 30, 40 years. How did this connection happen between Sonic Youth and Halifax?
Well, as far as I know, the connection happened 1984, NASCAD, actually, the College of Art and Design, decided to call up Sonic Youth and get them to come to Halifax for a bit of a symposium, or I guess it was a symposium or a residency that they were supposed to be doing here in town. 1984, I was 3 years old, so I don't know a whole lot about their actual time in Halifax, but what I've gathered is that they came up to the College of Art and Design, spoke to a bunch of the art students, because at the time, they were creating, I guess, what would be known as art music. Mm-hmm. Spoke to the students, played a gig in the NASCAD cafeteria, and it's been talked about, as far as I know, in Halifax ever since, as being one of those shows that you either saw or you didn't, but if you didn't, you highly regret
Missed
it.
out, so. Yeah. And there's a long history of art colleges and art universities bringing some of the coolest music that we've seen in the last 40 years, like Devo, the Talking Heads. Both those bands got together at art schools, too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really good way of, there's a lot of artistic music out there, and it's cool that a college, I think it's really cool that NASCAD would have sort of the balls to do that, to just call up Sonic Youth, because, they're not a music school, but to call up one of the most popular bands of the era and say, you want to come to a small little Halifax and play at our community college is pretty cool. So,
well, they've always made a point of going kind of against the grain, right? And while some of the other bands that came out along the same time as Sonic Youth have gone on to make millions and billions of dollars, Sonic Youth they seem to remain that indie darling underground kind of thing. They've never really gotten too big for their britches,
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like they've always had that artistic integrity, I guess, and they've always sort of done their own thing, regardless of what the popular crowd says.
And I wasn't there for that show. I was -3, but I from eyewitness accounts, I heard that they actually they were like banging on upturned garbage cans and doing a whole bunch of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, there's an article, I guess, that was done with Jay Ferguson from Sloan was interviewing Thurston Moore, and he mentioned that he after they were done their class at NASCAD, they just sort of walked around the city gathering up different items to play at the concert that night. So
you actually ran into one of the members of Sonic Youth, is that right?
Yeah, I was in Calgary last week for a festival there called Sled Island, 2 weeks ago, actually, and they had brought up Lee Ronaldo, the guitarist from Sonic Youth, to be one of their guests. He did a talk and a performance, and I happened to be lucky enough in some sort of dreamlike world that I was able to take a little walk with him, so we had a bit of a stroll for about 10, 15 minutes, and we spoke about Halifax and the time that they were here, so...
And what are they looking for? They put out a call for help to the good citizens of Halifax, and what can we do to help them out?
Well, they're looking for any sort of archival footage from that show. I know that there is a poster that exists, and they've got a couple of copies of their poster on their website, but they're looking for any photos that might have been taken, any videos, any articles from newspapers that recount the show. They're putting together, as Lee told me, they're putting together sort of a comprehensive archive of the entire band. And so Lee mentioned to me that was one of the cooler things that they did. One of the stranger things that they did was to come to Halifax to play this one show, but they'd love to have any sort of news article, footage. If rumor has it there's video floating around of that show somewhere, but I don't think anybody has ever found it.
And that would be the first actual piece of the earliest piece of video that Sonic Youth have, right?
It very well could be. That would be news to me. But I know that they hadn't been a band for very long before they did that show here. So
we're talking to Josh White. He's the operations manager for the Halifax Pop Explosion. And if folks out there have some of this holy grail of Sonic Youthness, how do they get in touch with Sonic Youth? Do they go through you? Is there an email address, a website?
Yeah, they can absolutely go through me. It's josh@halifaxpopexplosion.com. Just throw Sonic Youth in your subject title, and I'll know what you're talking about. if you want to leave your real name, obviously, Lee said that any submissions are going to be fully credited to whoever submitted them. So if you have some photos,
cool.
I will submit them on your behalf and definitely give anybody credit where credit is due.
And one more quick question, Josh. Chances of Sonic Youth coming for Halifax Pop Explosion 2012, what are they?
For 2012, that's interesting. I mentioned it to him when I mentioned I worked for the festival. He brought back fond memories of Halifax. Definitely not going to happen this year, but I did tell him, next year's our 20th anniversary. You never know what might happen, and
all right,
he
cool.
did say that they'd be interested in coming back here. Whether that's actually going to happen or not, I'm not going to make any promises.
You heard it right there, folks. Josh White says that Sonic Youth is coming to Halifax.
The Morning Mob with Cub Carson and Floyd every weekday on Live 105.